Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattox, a proud member of the Craftsman Online Media Network.
At the fellow craft Masons level, we're going to explore kind of the different workings as well, just like we did with the Entered Apprentice Masons over the past week, from both a practical perspective, a sort of relational perspective, and then a philosophical perspective. When we talk about the practical level, the practical interpretation of the fellow craft Masons' work, what we're really talking about is learning how the different skills and activities that you're pursuing start to fit together. And you'll see this a lot throughout the fellow craft Masons kind of toolkit. A lot of it is about understanding the relationships between things. When we look at the work itself, it's about understanding, for example, what if you imagine an operative capacity, how the tools are used in conjunction with each other to help create an outcome, as opposed to the Entered Apprentice Masons approach, which is very much more kind of the big heavy lifting stuff, moving rough objects and concepts around. At a fellow craft level, you're starting to understand more of the interrelationships between these concepts, how they fit together and how they work. This is the beginning of the phase of learning where you start to take a meaningful control over the learning process. You start proactively seeking feedback. You start trying to understand really, again, how the pieces of the work fit together, as well as maybe the beginning of the understanding of where your strengths lie, where your weaknesses lie. And that beginning that feedback cycle, using other people's expertise, not just as a guide, but reflecting with your own experience, which has started to kind of nurture and develop, to create a feedback loop that you can use to really understand kind of what's going on. This sort of behavioral perspective of the fellow craft means that you're going to start to get an understanding of, again, as well, where your skills lie on a spectrum of skills related to what you're trying to learn. So if you're trying to learn, say, music as a rough example, there are tons and tons and tons of different musical skills that are all related in the music acquisition process, right? So there are skills specific to the instrument you're learning, for example. There are skills relative to training your ear, training your manual dexterity. There are skills relative to training your ability to read music and then turn that into the correct motion of your hands or your breath or things like that. There are tons of sub-skills as well that kind of all play together. And as a fellow craft, you really start to get an understanding of what those sub-skills are and how they fit together, again, to create that larger moving piece. You'll know you've hit that fellow craft kind of space in your sort of practical development when you begin to realize how big the sort of space is of any one of the domains you're trying to learn in. You don't really have a sense of scale and scope as an Entered Apprentice because you don't have that kind of relationship mindset or perspective. As a fellow craft, you definitely get a sense that like these skills are big. There's lots to learn. The pieces all fit together just a little bit differently. And you begin to surface what your kind of interests and strengths are in that space. So you're taking this sort of relational feedback, not only from the experts around you in the field, but as well as your own internal lived experience. So that's kind of the behavioral practical function in the fellow craft Masons degree.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at amasonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.